Hello, everyone, here to you, and welcome back to Let's Play Super Mario Odyssey. In the previous episode, we conquered the last of the Mushroom Kingdom. Yes, the Mushroom Kingdom is mine! In today's episode, we'll be backing out of the main story for a little bit to showcase something that's pretty cool. It's time to play with Labo VR. Yeah, Nintendo made a VR kit that nobody remembers or talks about anymore. It's pretty interesting. Basically, the idea of it is it's basically like a cardboard cutout that you made from a Labo VR kit. You'd put your Nintendo Switch into the VR kit, and it basically turned into a VR headset. Now, a bit of a health recommendation: if you're a younger kid or anything like that, or you're a parent watching this video trying to see if this level is fun for kids or whatever, a bit of a heads up: you can restrict VR so that your kid doesn't actually get headaches or anything like that, because VR can give people headaches, so there's something you definitely want to keep in mind. And also a bit of a warning for just people in general. Because of the nature of how this video is being recorded, the camera is going to be a lot more shaky. So it's going to look a lot more unstable, and that might cause us some more flashing colors and things like that. So if you're prone to motion sickness or anything like that, you may not want to watch this episode. And starting off our VR adventure, it's time to go back to the Cap Kingdom. So basically how this works is that there's going to be 4 little challenges for you to take care of in every kingdom. There are going to be 3 musicians and a 100 coin power challenge thingy. How the musician challenges work is that you'll find some kind of rainbow musical note thingy that will give you a musical note challenge. And then you need to go find the musician who can play the instrument. Get used to hearing that. Yeah, that's the best time. You're gonna hear that a lot playing through these levels. I'm just gonna say that right now. Now, a bit of a heads up, like I said a moment ago, the camera's gonna be a lot more shaky in these levels because of the nature of how I record this. So I do apologize for people watching this with motion sickness. There's not much I can do about that. And also the audio. The audio might sound like it skips a little bit every few seconds. The reason for that is also because of the way that I edited this video. And that's a fun story. So, here's the thing about Labo VR. Because it's a VR headset, it's meant to be played in handheld mode. The thing about that, though, is that even though Breath of the Wild can go into VR mode when still docked, Mario Odyssey can't for some reason. You can restrict VR to bypass the things and then still go into the level. So you can go into the level when the Switch is docked, but you can't move the camera. Even though you can click the right thumbstick just fine to move the camera when you're playing in handheld mode. So yeah, that kind of made this a lot more convoluted to record than it needed to be. So basically what I did was that I used the Switch's capture button to get 30-second video clips constantly when playing through this. So yeah, that's gonna be the reason why it might sound like the audio skips ahead a little bit. There's really not much I can do about that. I did the best that I could work with, so I do apologize if it does sound like it's gonna be skipping ahead a little bit. Now, these actual levels themselves, I will say, Labo VR, it's kind of hit or miss whether or not the games that support it were actually any decent or anything like that. Breath of the Wild, you can play the entirety of that game in VR. It's really cool. Mario Odyssey only gets these challenges. Now, I do get it. The game is a platformer and it wasn't built with VR in mind, so it would be difficult to play the entire game with VR. It wouldn't be like Super Mario 3D Land, where the entire game was built around stereoscopic 3D. Mario Odyssey wasn't built with that in mind at all. So it does make sense that they didn't go in that direction. I will say, though, it does bum me out going from Breath of the Wild, where you can play the entire thing in VR, to going to Odyssey, where you can only play a few levels. Now, these kind of are made with VR in mind. It's not great. I'm going to say right now, it's not super great. And also, there's a little message that says to take a break every now and then, which, it's a VR headset. It makes sense to have a thing like that. But, yeah, it's still a little bit lame that you can't play the entire game in VR. There aren't really a whole lot of other Switch games that use VR either. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker did have it. And the thing about that is that I'm trying to decide, now that we're doing this video, I'm trying to decide if I want to go back to Captain Toad and try to do that. Because the VR levels for Captain Toad Treasure Tracker were the only things in that game that we never showcased. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do that now. Because we're already doing this, so it just makes sense, but at the same time, the Let's Play ended years ago. And we got all the challenges! Yeah! And this next one. You're gonna have to take my word for it when the instrument appears, because, yeah, I made the mistake of going through the level for practice before going to the thing, because I got lost on the last musician for the Cap Kingdom. So I was trying to go through the thing with the Seaside Kingdom first, but you can't replay them. You can replay them, it's just that the instruments themselves don't show up anymore. And I didn't want to go into another save file for this, so yeah, again, we're working with the best that we got. But yeah, Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker does have a few VR levels as well, and that one is actually kind of cool with the level select screen, because you go into the game, and there's like a 360 area that you can look around in to see Captain Toad just doing Captain Toad things. It's really adorable. So, yeah, I don't want to promise anything, but I don't know, maybe at some point. I'm not thinking about it right now, though, because I got a lot of other bonus videos that are a bit more of a priority at the moment. I think Super Smash Bros. Ultimate also has VR support as well. So that's kind of cool. Like, I can imagine, like, I played a little bit of it, and I didn't really think it was all that fun, honestly. But it does have VR support, so that's pretty interesting. It would be cool to see if Nintendo would be willing to experiment with this again, because they love 3D technology. They wanted to have the GameCube. They built the GameCube with 3D technology in mind, but scrapped it because of the cost problem. Because of like, it'd be more expensive for the 3D add-on than the entire GameCube itself at the time. And then they eventually were able to implement 3D into console with the 3DS. That was pretty cool. And technically, if you connect a Switch to a 3D television, it can enable 3D, but it's not really built for it, so you don't really get like a big satisfying 3D effect or anything like that. But it is possible, so that's kind of cool. It would be interesting to see if Nintendo would be willing to go back into more VR experimentation later in the future, because it totally seems like something Nintendo would want to play around with more. Like, I could imagine if they were to have another handheld dedicated system after the 3DS, it likely would have been like a VR thing. But they might not do that anytime soon, because VR technology is very, very expensive. And heading back over in this direction, we got some more musical notes of musicalness, and this is where the final instrument is going to be. Again, take my word for it. I wasn't able to showcase actually getting the stuff, so yeah, I'm the best Let's Player in the whole wide world. And with all that taken care of, let's back out and return to the menu. Yay, 100 coin! Yay, woohoo! Yay! Ending this off with the Luncheon Kingdom is just such a satisfying note, because the Luncheon Kingdom, not only does it take place towards the end game of the main story, but also, this was also the last level of the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker Odyssey levels too. So I just find it really amusing that the Luncheon Kingdom is also the last one here as well. I just really like that. Now, if I were to complain about one more thing, I do wish that they had like a VR level for every main kingdom in the game. Because the ones we get are the Cap Kingdom, the Seaside Kingdom, and the Luncheon Kingdom. I would have loved to have seen the Cascade Kingdom in VR. That would have been beautiful. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And heading back over in this area. Yeah, we get to be in the steel, yeah! Thankfully, they don't make you fight Cookatiel in VR, because I can imagine that'd be a big headache, quite literally. So, I'm grateful that that wasn't included in the VR levels. I'm just gonna say that right now. Yeah, like, if you do want a bit of a 3D effect for this, but you don't have the VR set yourself, there are two ways you can have these levels displayed on your screen. So, the way I'm playing this right now is that I do have the VR mode restricted, which keeps it within one screen. But if you do enable VR, it'll split it off into like two screens. We'll probably demonstrate something like that a little bit later in the episode. But yeah, if you want to do that, then you can also cross your eyes to get a bit of a 3D effect. It doesn't work as well as it would if you were watching from like an actual 3D screen or something like that. But it's still something that you can see and get like a bit of an idea of like, okay, I'm playing through this area, I don't have the VR goggles, but what would this area look like in 3D? Ah, that's what it would look like in 3D. That's kind of cool. Also, how expensive are VR headsets nowadays? I know the PlayStation ones are still really expensive, and I'm never going to get one, but I think the Labo VR kit, when it first came out, it was like $20 or something like that, so it'd be interesting to see if it stays that price for a while, because I can imagine it's probably going to be one of those things in Nintendo history where down like 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's going to get very expensive, especially VR headsets that have never been assembled. Long story short, if you see a VR headset, your local Best Buy or anything like that, grab a bunch of them right now, because you're going to be rich in the future. Yay, we made more steel! Thankfully we didn't have to jump into that pod, because that was a bit of a pain in the post-game. Not that spot specifically, but the other one, but I thought it was that one. It wasn't that fun. Yeah, I think of all the levels, this one is probably the one that looks the most appealing in 3D, because you get to like really see the depth of the individual fruit, so that's pretty cool. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. And we get the musical now! It's also kind of interesting that the rainbow note started in relatively the same spot as that one Hidden Moon from the painting in Darkside. That's pretty cool. You're the superstar! Yay! Woohoo! Yay! A special VR concert is happening. Be sure to check it out. And with that, let's listen to some music. Thank you for watching this episode of Super Mario Odyssey. Next episode will be the grand finale. And next time, Lady Gator to you.
Here we go, off the rails. But you know it's time to raise our sails. It's freedom like you never knew. Bags or a pass, say the word, I'll be there in a flash. You could say my hat is off to you. Oh, we can zoom all the way to the moon from this great wide wacky world. Jump with me, grab coins with me, oh yeah. It's time to jump up in the air. Jump up, don't be scared. Jump up and your cares will soar away. And if the dark clouds start to swirl, don't fear, don't shed a tear, 'cause I'll be your one-up girl. So let's all jump up super high, high up in the sky. There's no power up like dancing. You know that you're my superstar. No one else can take me this far. I'm flipping the switch. Get ready for this song. Let's do the Odyssey. Odyssey, yes, see. 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 Odyssey, Odyssey. We'll take a chance. Every journey starts a new romance. A new world's calling out to you. You can turn off the path, find a new addition to the cast. You know that any captain needs a crew. Take it Odyssey.